At least a decidedly cheery old bean. Sam remembered Eustace at school breaking glass globes with a slipper in a positively rollicking manner. He remembered him at Oxford, playing up to him manfully at the piano on the occasion when he had done that imitation of Frank Tinney which had been such a hit at the Trinity Smoker. Yes, Eustace had had the makings of a pretty sound egg, and it was too bad that he had allowed his mother to coop him up down in the country, miles away from anywhere. "Eustace is returning to England on Sunday," said Mrs. Hignett. She spoke a little wistfully. She had not been parted from her son since he had come down from Oxford, and she would have liked to keep him with her till the end of her lecturing tour. That, however, was out of the question. It was imperative that, while she was away, he should be at Windles. Nothing would have induced her to leave the place at the mercy of servants, who might trample over the flower beds, scratch the polished floors, and forget to cover up the canary at night. "He sails on the Atlantic." "That's splendid," said Sam. "I'm sailing on the Atlantic myself. I'll go down to the office and see if we can't have a stateroom together. But where's he going to live when he gets to England?" "Where's he going to live? Why, at Windles, of course. Where else?" "But I thought you were letting Windles for the summer." Mrs. Hignett stared. "Letting Windles!" She spoke as one might address a lunatic. "What put that extraordinary idea into your head?" "I thought father said something about your letting the place to some American." "Nothing of the kind." It seemed to Sam that his aunt spoke somewhat vehemently, even snappishly, in correcting what was a perfectly natural mistake. He could not know that the subject of letting Windles for the summer was one which had long since begun to infuriate Mrs. Hignett. People had certainly asked her to let Windles. In fact, people had pestered her. There was a rich, fat man, an American named Bennett, whom she had met just before sailing at her brother's house in London. Invited down to Windles for the day, Mr. Bennett had fallen in love with the place and had begged her to name her own price. Not content with this, he had pursued her with his pleadings by means of the wireless telegraph while she was on the ocean, and had not given up the struggle even when she reached New York. He had egged on a friend of his, a Mr. Mortimer, to continue the persecution in that city, and this very morning, among the letters on Mrs. Hignett's table, a buff envelope of a cable from Mr. Bennett had peeped out, nearly spoiling her breakfast. No wonder, then, that Sam's allusion to the affair had caused the authoress of The Spreading Light momentarily to lose her customary calm. "Nothing will induce me ever to let Windles," she said with finality, and rose significantly. Sam, perceiving that his audience was at an end, and glad of it, also got up. "Well, I'll be going along down and seeing about that stateroom," he said. "Certainly. I'm a little busy just now, writing notes for my next lecture." "Oh, of course, yes. Mustn't interrupt you. Suppose you're having a great time gassing away. Well, good bye." "Good bye." Mrs. Hignett, frowning, for the interview had ruffled her and disturbed that equable frame of mind which is so vital to the preparation of lectures on theosophy, sat down at the writing table and began to go through the notes which she had made overnight. She had hardly succeeded in concentrating herself when the door opened to admit the daughter of Erin once more. "Ma'am, there was a gentleman." "This is intolerable!" cried Mrs. Hignett. "Did you tell him I was busy?" "I did not. I loosed him into the dining room." "Is he a reporter from one of the newspapers?" "He is not. He has spats and a tall shaped hat. His name is Bream Mortimer." "Bream Mortimer?" "Yes, ma'am. He handed me a bit of a cyard, but I dropped it, being slippy from the dishes." Mrs. Hignett strode to the door with a forbidding expression. This, as she had justly remarked, was intolerable. She remembered Bream Mortimer. He was the son of the Mr. Mortimer who was the friend of the Mr. Bennett who wanted Windles. This visit could only have to do with the subject of Windles. And she went into the dining room in a state of cold fury, determined to squash the Mortimer family once and for all. Bream Mortimer was tall and thin. He had small bright eyes and a sharply curving nose. He looked much more like a parrot than most parrots do. It gave strangers a momentary shock of surprise when they saw Bream Mortimer in restaurants eating roast beef. They had the feeling he would have preferred sunflower seeds. "Morning, Mrs. Hignett." "Please sit down." Bream Mortimer sat down. He looked as though he would rather have hopped on to a perch, but he sat down. He glanced about the room with gleaming, excited eyes. "Mrs. Hignett, I must have a word with you alone." "You are having a word with me alone." "I hardly know how to begin." "Then let me help you. It's quite impossible. I will never consent." Bream Mortimer started. "Then you have heard?" "I've heard about nothing else since I left Mr. Bennett in London. Mr. Bennett talked about nothing else. Your father talked about nothing else. And now," cried Mrs. Hignett fiercely, "you come and try to reopen the subject. Once and for all, nothing will alter my decision. No money will induce me to let my house." "But I didn't come about that." "You didn't come about Windles?" "Good Lord, no." "Then will you kindly tell me why you have come?" Bream Mortimer looked embarrassed. He wriggled a little and moved his arms as if he were trying to flap them. "You know," he said, "I'm not a man who butts into other people's affairs." He stopped. "No?" said Mrs. Hignett. Bream began again. "I'm not a man who gossips with servants." "No?" "I'm not a man who—" Mrs. Hignett was never a very patient woman. "Let us take all your negative qualities for granted," she said curtly. "I have no doubt that there are many things which you do not do. Let us confine ourselves to issues of definite importance. What is it, if you have no objection to concentrating your attention on that for a moment, that you wish to see me about?" "This marriage." "What marriage?" "Your son's marriage." "My son is not married." "No, but he's going to be at 11 o'clock this morning at the little church round the corner." Mrs. Hignett stared. "Are you mad?" "Well, I'm not any too well pleased, I'm bound to say," admitted Mr. Mortimer. "You see, darn it all, I'm in love with the girl myself." "Who is this girl?" "Have been for years. One of those silent, patient fellows who hang around and look a lot, but never tell their love. Who is this girl who has entrapped my son? I have always been one of those men who—" "Mr. Mortimer, with your permission, we will take your positive qualities also for granted. In fact, we will not discuss you at all. You come to me with this absurd story. Not absurd. Honest fact. I had it from my valet, who had it from her maid. And, though I'm not a man to gossip with servants, I'm bound to say, will you please tell me who is the girl my misguided son wishes to marry?" "I don't know that I'd call him misguided," said Mr. Mortimer, as one desiring to be fair. "I think he's a right smart picker. She's a corking girl, you know. We were children together, and I've loved her for years. 10 years at least. But you know how it is. Somehow one never seems to get in line for a proposal. I thought I saw an opening in the summer of 1912, but it blew over. I'm not one of these smooth, dashing guys, you see, with a fair line of talk. I'm not—" "If you will kindly," said Mrs. Hignett impatiently, "postpone this essay in psychoanalysis to some future occasion, I shall be greatly obliged. I am waiting to hear the name of the girl my son wishes to marry." "Haven't I told you?" said Mr. Mortimer, surprised. "That's odd. I haven't. It's funny how one doesn't do the things one thinks one does. I'm the sort of man—" "What is her name?" "Bennett." "Bennett? Wilhelmina Bennett, the daughter of Mr. Rufus Bennett, the red-haired girl I met at lunch one day at your father's house?" "That's it. You're a great guesser. I think you ought to stop the thing." "I intend to." "Fine. The marriage would be unsuitable in every way. Miss Bennett and my son do not vibrate on the same plane. That's right. I've noticed it myself. Their auras are not the same color. If I've thought that once," said Bream Mortimer, "I've thought it 100 times. I wish I had $1 for every time I've thought it. Not the same color. That's the whole thing in a nutshell." "I am much obliged to you for coming and telling me of this. I shall take immediate steps." "That's good. But what's the procedure? How are you going to form a flying wedge and buck centre? It's getting late. We'll be waiting at the church at 11, with bells on," said Mr. Mortimer. "Eustace will not be there. You think you can fix it?" "Eustace will not be there," repeated Mrs. Hignett.